Lesson 8, circles. When it comes to a circle, first thing we need to know is the definition. It's a set of points in a plane that are all the same distance from the center. Then we have three parts that we need to know the definition of. The first is radius. That's a line halfway through the center. In other words, it's going to touch the middle and go to an edge on the circle. Then there's the diameter. That's a line that goes from one side to the other and it passes through the center. And finally, there's the chord. That's a line from one side to another. It may be through the middle or through the center, but it doesn't have to be. We also have central angle, an angle with its vertex at the center, and semicircle. That's an arc that is half of the circumference of the circle. On your worksheets, when you're asked to name parts of a circle, this is how you do that. For the center, you name it like you do a point. You probably remember that from our earlier lesson, with either the word point or with an actual dot and its capital letter. For a radius, you name it just like a segment. So, for example, if it was going from A to B, you would name it A, B, with the segment line on top, and it does not matter what order they are in. Diameter would be named the same way, with the two end points, the line segment on top. Central angle would be named like an angle, so with the angle symbol, and then the three letters that make up the angle, remembering that the middle needs to be the vertex of the circle, the center of the circle. The chord, you would name it just like a segment, the two endpoints with the little segment on top. An arc. We have two arcs. We have minor and major arcs. Arcs that are less than half the length of the outside of the circle would be called minor arcs, and you use the two endpoints. Let's say it goes from C to R. And what you do is you put a little arc over the top. So it's kind of like the segment line, only it's got a little curve to it. And with the semicircle or bigger, which is considered a major arc, then you use the two endpoints and any point in between. So let's say that it was from C all the way to D, and that R was in the middle, and again, an arc over the top. Okay? So, if we add a circle, let's try that again. That's pretty good. And we wanted to name the circle, we would do so by giving that middle point a name. We're going to call this circle C. We're going to put a few points along the outside here. This is going to be A. This one is going to be X. This one is going to be S. This one, T. And we're going to put one over here, and we're going to call it L. All right, so now that we've done that, let's talk about some of those parts. For example, a chord. A chord, by definition, goes from one point on the outside to another. So I could draw a line from A to X, and that would be a chord. I could draw a line from A to S, and that would be a chord. I could draw one from A to T, and that would be a chord. Or I could draw one from A to L, and that would be a chord. The diameter is a chord that goes through the center. So for example here, if we went from A to T, we would go through the center point C. So that would be a chord that is also the diameter. A radius goes from the center to an outside point. So CL would be a radius. CT would be a radius. I could draw that. CS, if I drew that, would be a radius. CX could be a radius. And CA could be a radius. Let's say that I had a line here. The next thing we want to look at is a central angle. A central angle is an angle whose vertex is the center of the circle. So ACX is an angle. Its vertex is in the center. So ACX or XCA would be a central angle. And remember, you name it with an angle symbol, and your vertex must be in the center. But it would not matter if I did this backwards. I could call this angle XCA or angle ACX. It wouldn't matter as far as that goes. Angle ACT is also an angle. It's a straight angle. So diameters are also chords, and diameters are also central angles. An arc. Arcs go around that outside part of the circle. So they're not inside the circle at all. They're on the circle. So let me choose a different color here. And this would be from L to A. This arc here would be what would be called a minor arc. A, L, and again, it doesn't matter which one comes first, with your little arc drawn over the top. That would be a minor arc, 2 letters. But if you were going to go from, I'll use yellow this time, if you were going to go from L to X, L all the way over to X, I went right inside the red because it was a little hard to see it when I was on top there. If you were going to go all the way from L to X, that's a major arc. It's bigger than half of the circle. So you need the L, you need the X, and you need any point in between. So I could either choose the T or I could choose the S. It doesn't matter. And all 3 get an arc over the top. That is how you name a major arc. A semicircle goes exactly halfway around. Exactly halfway around. So for example, if I went from A, and again, I'm going to go on the outside so we can see our color. If I went from A to T, that would be A. My point I passed along the way was L, T. Semicircle or bigger should have 3 letters. ALT. All right.